Hey there, comic book fans. I just figured I'd show off a little Omega the Unknown tonight. Now, this was a series that was one of my favorites as a kid. And these are my actual issues from when I was a kid right here, the beaten up, battered ones. And these, I bought these probably around the year 2000, 2001. And I got them from Mile High Comics. I mean, believe it or not, there was a time when Mile High Comics had some dirt cheap comics on their online website. And I got the whole series in near mint condition for I don't know $2 a piece. It was ridiculously cheap because to this day probably not many people want Omega the Unknown, and certainly a lot of people didn't want it 18 years ago. But this was one of my favorites as a kid, and I used to read it all the time, and I think it still holds up well. That right there is, who did that? Ed Hannigan and Joe Sinnott. You can see they signed it down there. Did the cover on this one. It's a really nice cover on number 1. Ed Hannigan was very good at cover design. Matter of fact, I have a book of his cover designs that Marvel put out 5-6 years ago for some sort of benefit for him. I'm gonna have to find that and do a video on it. But he was a very good cover designer, but his drawing wasn't always fancy. And Joe Sinnott really fancied up his drawing here with the inks. He really did a nice solid job. And it's by there's our creative team. There's pretty much the creative team for most of the series. Steve Derber and Mary Screens wrote it. Jim Mooney drew it. He inked it too. I think he had different inkers on him over the series. But Omega the Unknown is basically a story. It's a mystery. That's why it's called The Unknown. So it was a 10-issue mystery story. What was interesting thing about this to me too is I got them all as a kid, but I got them all at once. So what year did this come out? 1975. Let's see, when did the last one come out? So this, I think it may have been bi-monthly. So 75 to 77 it came out, 10 issues bi-monthly. I don't think I got any of the issues probably until about 1977, so I would have been 11 or 12. And I got them all at once, probably from someone in the neighborhood. Some kid was getting rid of them. I bought them for a nickel a piece. So this was kind of always a complete series to me because there were only 10 issues. And you can see my issues are very, lots of wrinkles in them. Lots of dog-eared corners. But these Mile High mint condition ones are pretty minty. There's flaws in them here and there, but, for $2 comics, they're really sharp. Of course, the first issue sets up the mystery. I think I did a review of issue 1 last year. Omega the Unknown's our hero. What's funny too is he's mute until like issues 9 and 10. And Michael is some orphan kid whose parents were robots. That's the big reveal in issue 1. He gets into a car accident. And there's his parents. He doesn't know his parents are robots until his mother's robot head talks to him. So, and actually, as a kid, Omega the Unknown taught me a lot about making comics too, because there was like a soft reboot in the middle of it, and I kind of figured that out. I was like, oh, that's interesting. They're changing the concept. And the first issue set up the mystery, and the second issue gives us the Hulk. Which, who did this cover? Buckler and Milgram, it says over there. And Marvel with a lot of their second issues, so it was like all of a sudden, they gave us a Hulk story in here. So the mystery, and it was barely the Hulk in here, I think. Let me just flip ahead. I haven't read this in a little while. But it wasn't like a normal Hulk story where somebody fights and gets into trouble with this whole story takes place in Hell's Kitchen. That's where Michael lives with his guardians, this nurse. And this was Hell's Kitchen in the 70s. This was not the nice Hell's Kitchen of today. And he was in Hell's Kitchen before Daredevil. So, you know, I just think Bruce Banner's a bum on the side of the road. And the Hulk kind of barely there's not much Hulk smash going on in it. You know, Hulk barely shows up for the story. So it's kind of like, even as a kid, when the Hulk was my favorite too, I kind of sussed out right away that the Hulk was just in there to get people interested in the story. It was like it was not a Hulk story by any stretch of the imagination. It was very tame for a Hulk story. But once again, nice cover. I like that cover. And the pretty... And it's funny, the reason I got these ones in mint condition was because this is how I remember them. Pretty sharp corners. I mean, when you look at these ones, I read them so many times. I probably read this once or twice a year as a kid, at least. You know, all that schmutz up the side. You know, it takes its toll on it. They're still in decent reading shape, but... You know, all that... and this was... I had these, of course, before the age of comic bags, so... They were just getting handled a lot. When I was a kid, and the neighbors too, who used to collect, we used to just put them all out on the floor and look at them, rearrange them, arrange them, trade them, do stuff like that. So it was funny. So we had the first issue intro, which I liked. This, like I said, this taught me a lot about making comics. So then I was like, oh, Hulk guest star in the second issue, just to get people interested. Then the third issue, you get another a villain, a Spider-Man villain. And this has got a Gil Kane cover on it. I don't know who inked him on that. Don't see it signed, but there's no mistaking Gil Kane. Once again, we get a standard Marvel villain who just kind of shows, because this was more about the mystery than it was about superheroing. So that's probably why it failed. People love superheroes. A little more Omega the Unknown here. Fights Electro. And Omega the Unknown isn't a very good superhero. I think he's supposed to be like a soldier from another planet. We never really found out the mystery. Because Steve Gerber left... Oh, I'll show you that in the end. Left the Defenders before some other writer finished the Omega story, and it was pretty boring. So it's like even Electro, there's not a ton of superheroing in them. They give us a little superhero nature in it, and the rest of the mystery, half the book is with Michael, this kid, and half of the book is with Omega the Unknown. But I really liked that as a kid. I really, because I always liked the oddball comics. So this one, and he's a very sheltered kid, so he doesn't know how to handle fights and stuff like that. And Electro does whatever Electro. It was like Electro almost didn't. It was like it was a superhero book, so they had to have a villain in it. Electro. Then we get a more night, and the covers were misleading too, because they always tried to make the covers more exciting than the book itself. Like, this is a Night of 1,000 Claws. You have defied El Gato, senor. Now my fanged minions bring you death. It's like, really, cats? You're really gonna be scared by a guy who orders around cats? Look at that. Look at that. I love these minty nice ones though. They're just nice rich blacks, sharp corners. This is how I remember them. That's why I got those. Not with all you can't even see how wavy they've got a lot of texture to them. Look at that back. Look at that texture in the back. All those wrinkles and folds. Because, like I said, I got these secondhand and read them a lot. And, like El Gato was just some guy who had cats or something. He wasn't even. Let me flip. He wasn't even a supervillain. But of course, for the cover, they had to make him a supervillain. Like, this taught me about comics, about how they were trying to sell this comic by making it something it wasn't. Let's see, where is El Gato? He doesn't even show up yet. Oh, there he is. He shows up, throws a few punches, and a bunch of cats attack him. I mean, come on. Really? That's superhero action? Because this wasn't a superhero book. It was a mystery book masquerading as a superhero book. So El Gato's only in the last 4 pages or something. It's just funny. But yeah, good stuff. Let's go on to issue 5. This is the cover they used for a lot of ads and stuff, because another Gil Kane cover. Don't know who inked them on it. Nice white spot. That rubbed right off, I think, that color. Whatever. But I got this one, like, as you can see, this got spine roll on it. This one I got like this. I didn't make it. I never spine rolled a comic. I don't know how you'd even do that as a kid. Jim Mooney. And Jim Mooney's a solid artist. He's no one who's going to get you all. As a matter of fact, I have an idea for a video I want to do on how mediocre artists from the 70s I prefer to mediocre artists from today. But that's a whole other video. But he was solid storyteller. You know, he'd been in comics since the 50s, I think. So he could tell a story, and he especially tell a story full of talking heads. Superhero, you know, he's not a real superhero action guy, but there's not a ton of, as you can see here, look, this is all the character interaction and all the mystery going on in this issue. So it wasn't even a whole bunch of superhero action. Probably why it didn't even have a superhero battle on the cover. Let's see if it was there even, oh, El Gato's still around, pardon me, you know. The guy who orders cats around. Who could ever defeat him? Oh, look, a giant cat guy. But, you know, like I said, the superhero action wasn't the most dynamic, but that was fine with me. And this is the funniest cover. This is the cover that made me laugh as a kid. I may seem like just another muscle-bound bum to you, but you ain't felt power until you felt the power of the wrench. This is Romita and Dave Cockrum. Nice cover, excellent cover. Bears no resemblance to the story inside. The wrench had no superpowers. He was just a guy who was like a super, who got into a little bit of trouble and ended up in a fight. That's once again all mystery stuff. You know, not superhero action, but here's Michael interacting with some guy on the street. Here's Omega the Unknown having some drinks at a bar. Here's the Omega the Unknown. Here's the wrench. He just hits him with a wrench. That's it. That's all there is to it. Like I said, if I remember right, he was mad at it. The wrench was mad at his girlfriend or something, and Omega ended up in the middle of the fight. Boy, there's a lot of ads in a row in these old comics. Again, just talking to what's going on, the mystery. Well, there's like 7 or 8 characters all living in Hell's Kitchen. And so this is more about life in Hell's Kitchen. There was a psychiatrist, a nurse, Omega the Unknown, the kid, the nurse's sassy friend. Here he goes, he's fighting the guy with the wrench. He's just a guy with a wrench. He's got no superpowers whatsoever. Oh, he's got a gun too, along with his wrench. No superpowers whatsoever. So that cover is up, and then I see Michael finally exhibits some superpowers. That once again that was the mystery. What is his relationship to Omega? What is his relationship to Omega? What is he? Ooh, another look at the pretty one. Well, is Michael some weirdo robot? What's his relationship to Omega? How come he exhibits superpowers every now and then? You never knew. And they never gave us answers to that. And here we go. Blockbuster. I think Blockbuster was around before this issue, but he was maybe once again, more spine roll going on in this old issue. I got it that way. It's amazing I remember him in mint condition. 2 of them are spine rolled. Once again, we start with a mystery. How the hell did he blast that wrench guy? Where does he get powers from? What's his relationship to Omega? All questions we never found out the answers to, but I still liked it more. Oh, there's Blockbuster fighting Captain America, so he must have been in Cap before this. Once again, simple bank robbery. All the superheroics in this are kind of generic by the books. Oh, we need Omega to stop a bank robber. Okay, well, why is he stopping a bank robber? He was around. You know, some superhero action we got going here. More superhero action than we saw in most of the book. Fighting Blockbuster. Because if you notice in the back half of we had a soft reboot somewhere around issue 6 or 7, so they wanted to give us more superhero action. So we get that, like this issue is all fight scene because, you know, they're trying to save the book. It's obvious. Next issue we got Nitro. Once again, they're trying to save the book by they dimmed down the mystery a little and upped the superhero-ness, which, you know, I was a little disappointed in. Here we go. You know, Nitro. I always liked Nitro from Captain Marvel, who just exploded. Now, they gave him like exploding fists and things in this eventually, but like in Captain Marvel, he could just explode himself. That was fun. So, you know, once again, now we're back to a superhero fight. He's got to figure out how to beat Nitro. Not nearly, you know, we get one page of Michael at the bus station. We get more life in Hell's Kitchen. This is the stuff I liked most in Omega, the Life in Hell's Kitchen stuff, but he's still looking for Nitro. Hey, look, there goes Hell's Kitchen. Who's Hell's Kitchen's first defender? Omega the Unknown. It finds Nitro again. Like the much less mystery going on with Omega, much more fist fighting. And he gets Nitro in the giant tube. That'll teach him as he tries to explode for 4 or 5 panels. Like the superhero action wasn't the greatest here. Look at that. You can go up in the stratosphere, Nitro. Oh, that's right. The Fool Killer is in this too. Another Marvel villain from the 70s and 80s. But look at that. Nice, more Gil Kane cover on that one. 9 is Blockbuster is back. Who did them? Is this more Gil Kane? More Gil Kane? Yeah, you can tell it's more Gil Kane by those upshots. The back half of the series, more fights, more supervillains, trying to save the series by making it into a more standard superhero story, but you still get lots of the Hell's Kitchen gang hanging out. Fool Killer shows up. He's not quite standard. He was one of the first guys killing in the Marvel universe. Matter of fact, I think he kills someone here. I can't remember. Let's flip through. And Omega's a bad superhero. I think he loses. He like loses fights all the time. Fighting in Rockefeller Center. Not the most dramatic fights. Like I said, Jim Mooney was a solid artist, but fight scenes weren't his thing. You know, the Fool Killer kills Blockbuster because Omega's about to die. He's losing the fight so badly he's gonna die. Like I said, he wasn't much of a superhero, but darn it, these were some good comics. They redid this whole series sometime in the early 2000s, where they just kind of, and this is the last issue. I remember there wasn't much interesting about this last issue. Same team, Gerber, Screens, Jim Moody. Omega the Unknown being a poor superhero. Like lots of Omega the Unknown. Random supervillain shows up. This was kind of like, eh. Let me just skip to because this issue I think was the most forgettable of them. Probably because that villain was nobody. I mean, he was not interesting at all. And in the end, it tells us here. The story of Omega the Unknown will be concluded in future issues of the Defenders. Steve, Mary, and Jim. Because Steve Gerber was doing the Defenders at the time. But he left the Defenders before he finished it. Then a couple years later, some other writer and artist finished it. And Omega was just some alien soldier. There was like nothing. Oh, Cockrum and Pablo Marco. There was like nothing interesting about the resolution of Omega the Unknown in Marvel. These 10 issues are much more intriguing than the resolution was in the. I don't even. Like I said, I read these issues as a kid quite a bit. I read the resolution in Defenders maybe once or twice, and just was like, "Oh God, this is awful." I was much more a fan of the Steve Gerber writing and Mary Screens and Jim Mooney writing in this series than I was of whoever was writing in the Defenders. And I don't know, around in the 60s of the Defenders, I think, maybe 60s or 70s. But there you go. Little look at some mint condition and crappy condition Omega the Unknowns.